Sarah Jameson's terrifying ordeal unfolded on a sunny afternoon in Palm Beach, Florida, on July 13, 1997. Palm Beach was a dream destination for anyone who loved the ocean, with its inviting waters perfect for swimming and diving. Sarah, an enthusiastic free diver from Delaware, had decided to spend her summer there, balancing a job as a waitress with her passion for exploring the underwater world. She had settled into a comfortable routine, making friends with her coworkers and slipping into the sea for a dive every few days. Everything felt smooth and carefree until that fateful day. In the early morning, Sarah headed to the cafe where she worked, ready for her shift. Her close friend and diving partner, Amy, pulled her aside and confessed that she felt uneasy about their planned afternoon dive. There had been reports of a shark sighted a few miles north of their usual spot. Sarah listened but remained skeptical. The distance seemed too great to pose any real threat. With her usual confidence, she reassured Amy that they should stick to their regular routine. There was nothing to worry about, she insisted. Later that day, the two friends met at the beach, their bags packed with towels and diving gear. They were casual divers who never ventured far from shore and rarely stayed underwater for more than 2 hours because of their other daily responsibilities. The beach was lively with people soaking up the afternoon sun and splashing in the waves. Sarah and Amy left their belongings near the water's edge and waded in. After their long, tiring shift at the cafe, the cool water felt refreshing. They swam out a short distance. Then Amy suggested they push a little farther than usual to escape the crowd. Though Amy's earlier warning about the shark still echoed faintly in Sarah's mind, she agreed. They swam out several dozen yards and began their dive. The water was crystal clear, and Sarah felt completely at ease as she glided deeper than ever before. The seafloor dropped away, revealing new sights. She had trained herself to hold her breath for up to 6 minutes, but Amy was less experienced and had to surface more often. At one point, Amy tapped Sarah on the shoulder and pointed upward, signaling that she needed air. Sarah nodded and continued swimming on her own, captivated by the colorful seashells scattered across the sand. A patch of kelp a little farther ahead caught her eye, and she swam toward it, eager to explore. As she drew closer, the water grew noticeably colder. Something was moving among the kelp fronds. Probably fish, she thought. Her lungs were beginning to burn, reminding her that she would soon need to surface, but curiosity kept her moving forward for one last look. The dark shape became clearer, and in an instant, Sarah's blood ran colder than the surrounding water. She was staring directly into the cold, black eyes of a massive bull shark. The creature glided through the kelp, then suddenly changed direction and shot straight toward her, mouth wide open. Frozen with terror, Sarah knew she could never outswim the predator. She thrust her arms forward in a desperate attempt to protect herself. To her astonishment, the shark did not seize her arms. Instead, it clamped down hard on her thigh. The pain was immediate and excruciating, like fire tearing through her flesh. She fought the urge to scream, aware that releasing her remaining breath would mean certain death. Through the agony and frantic thrashing, one clear thought cut through the panic: the gills. She remembered from her training that a shark's gills were extremely sensitive. With every ounce of strength she possessed, she jammed her fingers into the shark's gills and yanked violently. The shark's teeth sank deeper, scraping against bone, and its powerful tail lashed wildly in response. The pain intensified for a terrifying moment, but then the creature suddenly released her thigh and vanished into a cloud of red-tinged water. Sarah pushed through the burning agony, terrified that the shark might return. She kicked desperately toward the surface, her vision blurring from the blood swirling around her. Every second felt like an eternity as weakness crept into her limbs. Finally, she broke through to the warm sunlight and fresh air. Gasping, she let out a piercing shriek that carried across the beach. Amy, who had been floating nearby on her back, spun around at the sound and swam frantically to her friend. Together they struggled toward shore. Beachgoers who had heard the scream realized what was happening and rushed into the water to help. They reached the pair just in time. Because the beach was close to the city, an ambulance arrived quickly and rushed Sarah to the hospital. Miraculously, Her injuries were not fatal, though doctors said a few more minutes of blood loss would have ended her life. Amy stayed by Sarah's side throughout her hospital stay, offering constant support. Sarah recovered within a few weeks and returned to her waitressing job in Palm Beach. But she never went back into the ocean. According to her own account of the incident, she developed a severe phobia of open water. From then on, the only swimming she allowed herself was in clear pools where the bottom was always visible. The next harrowing story belongs to Nolan, a 17-year-old stand-up paddleboard enthusiast in California. Nolan had been taking lessons for several weeks and had quickly become one of the most skilled students in his group, often outpacing even older participants. One afternoon after school, he decided to head to the beach alone with his paddleboard and paddle. There was no class scheduled, but he wanted to test his abilities without supervision and see how far he could venture on his own. The waves looked perfect for paddling, so he launched eagerly and began pushing against them with strong, confident strokes. He sliced through the surf successfully and felt a surge of pride. His lessons had clearly paid off. Satisfied with his progress, he turned back toward shore. That was when something strange happened. While paddling, Nolan felt a large presence moving directly beneath his board, as if something massive was gliding just under the surface. He paused, took a deep breath, and tried to steady himself. Without warning, a great white shark exploded out of the water, jaws snapping as it tried to bite him. The shark submerged again, then struck once more, this time hurling Nolan off his board and into the sea. Panic surged through him. He grabbed his paddle and swam frantically, but the shark charged a third time, aiming for his leg. Nolan managed to kick the shark squarely in the face, buying himself a brief moment of relief. The shark returned almost immediately, latching onto his leg and shaking it violently. Blood clouded the water. Nolan fought back with everything he had, kicking the shark's face repeatedly with his free leg. Realizing the paddle was his best weapon, he swung it hard, striking the shark's head again and again. The animal finally flinched, released his leg, and swam away. Despite the searing pain, Nolan climbed back onto his board and paddled desperately to shore. A lifeguard spotted him right away and rushed him to the hospital. Doctors treated the deep bite wounds and advised him to rest until his leg fully healed. The beach was temporarily closed after the attack, and warnings remained in place until authorities were certain the danger had passed. Far across the world, in the warm waters near the island of Phu Quoc off the southeast coast of Cambodia, another tragedy struck. The region was known for its diverse shark populations, some of which occasionally wandered into unexpected places. Anneli Sakta lived in a small village on the island with her husband and their infant daughter. They were a modest family, earning a living through simple labor. One ordinary day, as Anneli prepared to tackle her household chores, her husband suggested a relaxing stroll along the beach. She agreed, and they brought their baby daughter along since there was no one else to watch her. The walk was short, less than 20 minutes, and they enjoyed the scenery. When they reached the beach, it was crowded, and the baby grew fussy. So the family decided to wander inland through the shaded forest that bordered the shore. The trees offered cool relief, and they chatted pleasantly while walking beside a gentle river. At one point, they discovered that the usual bridge had collapsed. The water was only waist deep, so they chose to wade across. Halfway through the river, Anneli suddenly felt a sharp bite on her leg. She lost her balance and fell, swallowing water and becoming disoriented. Her husband quickly pulled her upright. As her head cleared, she heard her husband's frantic screams. Their daughter was no longer in her arms. Redness spread through the water. Her husband dove beneath the surface and resurfaced holding the baby's blood-soaked clothes. Their daughter was gone. Nearby villagers heard the commotion and rushed to help, but it was too late. One witness reported seeing a small white-tipped shark swimming downstream toward the ocean. No one had ever seen a shark in that river before, yet it was a popular spot where children often played. The family returned home heartbroken. They held a funeral a few days later, and no one ever swam in that river again. In Australia, 19-year-old surfer Leo Taylor experienced his own brush with death at Gold Coast Beach. Leo lived for the waves, whether they were small or towering. On this particular day, the surf was enormous, and he paddled out eagerly. After riding several giants, he noticed a pod of dolphins playing in the distance. Fascinated, he sat on his board to watch them. When the dolphins moved farther out, Leo decided to follow. He paddled away from shore, then paused again to observe them up close. Suddenly, something felt wrong beneath him. A large shape was approaching from below. Terror flashed through his mind, and he began paddling back toward land as fast as he could. A tiger shark rocketed upward, smashing his surfboard into two pieces. Leo narrowly avoided the first strike, but the shark turned and came for him again. It seized his left arm, teeth sinking deep. Leo screamed in agony and fought back with his right fist, punching the shark's nose and eye repeatedly. When he managed to jab its sensitive gills, the shark released him and vanished. Leo swam frantically to shore, his arm badly mangled. His fellow surfers rushed him to the hospital, where doctors cleaned and treated the wound. He survived, but the memory of that day would stay with him forever. On August 4, 1974, a school field trip to a newly opened aquarium in the Midwestern United States turned into a nightmare for young Molly and her classmates. The students were excited to see the exhibits, especially the brand new shark tank created by marine biologists Marie and Henry. The couple had designed the attraction to bring young people closer to nature and teach them about ocean ecology. After touring various displays, the group reached the shark tank. Marie explained that sharks play a vital role in maintaining balance in the ocean food chain. Even though many people feared them, the tank housed only blacktip sharks, timid creatures usually no more than 6 feet long. While the class listened attentively, one boy named Jack lingered behind, staring at the tank. As the others moved on to the coral displays, Jack climbed onto the edge of the tank. Marie noticed and shouted for him to come down. He turned, lost his balance, and plunged into the water. The sharks, already stressed from their recent move and hungry, closed in immediately. A red mist filled the tank as they attacked his limbs. Marie and Henry sprang into action. Henry grabbed a pickaxe left by construction workers and smashed the glass. Water and sharks spilled across the floor. Henry pulled the injured boy to safety while Marie herded the terrified children away. Jack's wounds were deep, but no major arteries had been severed. Paramedics arrived quickly, and he made a full recovery. The aquarium faced lawsuits and hefty fines, eventually going bankrupt and closing its doors. Connor Wright, a mechanic from Austin, Texas, was on vacation in Australia with his friends in August 2005. On their 4th day, they rented jet skis for an adrenaline-filled adventure near the Gold Coast. Connor and his friend Elliot sped across the water while their friend Jack relaxed on the beach. During a break, Elliot suggested racing to a large rock jutting from the sea. They lined up, counted down, and took off. Connor's jet ski suddenly became unstable, bucking wildly. He lost his grip, flipped backward, and slammed into shallow, rocky water, breaking his femur with a sickening crack. As he clung to Elliot's jet ski in agony, something rough scraped across his stomach, shark skin, covered in tiny, tooth-like scales. Panic set in. He slipped under the surface and saw a massive tiger shark circling him. The shark seized his lower leg, grinding its teeth against bone. Elliot fought desperately to pull him aboard. The shark eventually released its grip, and they raced to shore. A tourniquet was applied to Connor's mangled leg, but he had lost his lower leg and suffered a shattered femur. After weeks in the hospital and years of rehabilitation, he learned to walk with a prosthesis, but he vowed never again to enter water deeper than a pond. Emma Ferguson, an engineering student in Columbus, Ohio, had always dreamed of becoming a marine biologist. One night, her friend Marco, who worked at the local zoo, invited her and another friend, May, for an after-hours visit while new exhibits, a shark tank and seal enclosure, were being installed. The trio wandered the quiet zoo until the workers finished. When they reached the new shark tank, Marco climbed onto a small platform and lifted the flimsy lid. Emma, curious despite May's warnings, joined him. 3 large bull sharks glided gracefully below. Overcome with emotion, Emma confessed how much she regretted not pursuing her true passion. As she reached toward the water, one shark lunged and clamped onto her forearm, dragging her downward. Marco held her up with all his strength while the shark, stressed and hungry, refused to let go. In a horrifying moment, the shark's teeth degloved the skin from her forearm, pulling it away like a glove. Emma screamed and passed out from the pain. Marco and May applied a tourniquet and called for help. Paramedics arrived quickly and saved her life, but the physical and psychological scars remained. Emma developed an intense fear of fish and large animals. Marco blamed himself, lost his job, and eventually dropped out of college. Though Emma forgave him, their friendship ended. Blake Williams and 3 fellow fishermen, Charlie, Andrew, and Jack, were out at sea hunting tuna when they encountered an unusually aggressive great white shark. After successfully netting several fish, Blake and Jack lowered a second net. Jack sensed something massive moving beneath the boat. Moments later, as Blake tested the net's weight, a great white erupted from the water, jaws wide, trying to seize his hand. Blake dropped the net and jumped back. The shark attacked again, this time lunging for his leg. Jack pulled Blake to safety just in time. The frustrated shark began ramming the hull repeatedly. Charlie started the engine and sped away, but the shark pursued them for several minutes before disappearing beneath the waves. The 4 men returned to shore shaken but alive, grateful to have survived one of the most frightening days of their fishing careers. Natasha Volkova, a 28-year-old nurse from Russia, was vacationing in Boa Viagem, Brazil, in the summer of 1998 with her boyfriend, Ilya. After several rainy days indoors, the weather finally cleared. Natasha bought an inflatable mattress and floated lazily on the calm sea while Ilya relaxed on the beach. She dozed off and drifted hundreds of yards from shore. When she woke, she began paddling back, enjoying the warm sun on her back. Suddenly, something bumped violently beneath the mattress, lifting her into the air. The mattress deflated rapidly. A dorsal fin sliced through the water nearby. Natasha screamed and swam frantically toward shore. The bull shark returned, scraping her side with its rough skin and drawing blood. It then seized her thigh just above the knee and pulled her under. Natasha gouged at the shark's eyes and finally yanked its gills, forcing it to release her. The lifeguard reached her, pulled her to the surface, and swam her to safety. Ilya rushed to her side as paramedics arrived. Natasha recovered after several hours of treatment and, with Ilya's devoted support, eventually married him years later. In Byron Bay, Australia, young Andy was flying his new drone over the ocean when it suddenly lost signal and plunged into the waves. Without thinking, he dove in to retrieve it. His father, Jeff, saw the danger and sprinted into the water. A shark attacked Andy's arm, shaking him violently. Jeff tackled the shark, drawing its jaws onto his own arm instead. In a heroic struggle, Jeff pried the shark's mouth open long enough for Andy to escape. Both father and son reached shore bloodied but alive. Their unbreakable bond and Jeff's selfless courage became an inspiration to people around the world. 2 high school friends, Ethan and Lily, skipped class one warm spring day to swim in a secluded cove. They left their bikes and backpacks on the beach and dove into the clear water, laughing and joking. Suddenly, a massive bull shark appeared behind Ethan and clamped onto his right hamstring. Lily screamed as Ethan was dragged under. The shark shook him violently beneath the surface, tearing at his body. Lily watched in horror as the water turned red and Ethan's mutilated body eventually floated to the surface. She stumbled back to town in shock, forever haunted by guilt and nightmares. 16-year-old surfing prodigy Malia was practicing at her favorite big wave spot in Oahu, Hawaii, under the watchful eye of her father and trainer, Makoa. A Galapagos shark suddenly attacked, biting her left leg and then her right. Malia used her surfboard as a shield, fighting her way to shore while calling for help. Makoa rushed in and carried her to safety. She was treated at a nearby clinic and recovered from her wounds. Tom Brook, an avid surfer, was enjoying a day at the beach with friends when a bull shark seized his leg while he sat on his board. He was pulled underwater and thrashed violently. One friend reached him, and together they managed to get Tom back onto a board and to shore. An ambulance arrived quickly, and Tom survived. He later pursued a degree in marine biology, refusing to let the attack diminish his love for the ocean. Finally, in 1972, Claudia Montana, her husband Eric, and their 6-year-old son Langan were vacationing in Perth, Australia. During a boat tour with friends, the vessel struck rocks and began sinking. As passengers swam toward shore, a large group of bull sharks attacked. Claudia was bitten first, then Eric. Despite Eric's desperate efforts to protect his wife and son, both were pulled under and killed. Eric survived his own injuries but returned to France alone, devastated by the loss of his family. These stories serve as powerful reminders of the ocean's raw power and the unpredictable nature of its most ancient predators. Each survivor, and each family left behind, carried scars that would last a lifetime. Yet their experiences also highlighted the incredible resilience of the human spirit in the face of nature's most terrifying forces.